And now, you're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Hello and welcome back to your RBLR Rays show. I am your host, Pat Davenport, coming to you from England, the only country that might declare a national holiday on Monday for a very particular sporting event. That's right, the Home Run Derby, of course. And Zach is not here today. Unfortunately, he has been called up to his own kind of all-star break. He's on vacation right now, so best of luck to Zach. But luckily, we have got two all-stars joining me today on the show. First and foremost, it's a guy that's got into our all-star team today because he is Mr. Consistency. Every single at-bat, he's going to give you something incredible. He's going to do it. Put in the innings. It is Carter Brantley. Carter, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right, Pat. I've been watching England in those Euros. I know that's not the real, like the home run derby, obviously the real reason they'll take off Monday. But it's an exciting time to be a baseball fan. I'm super stoked to talk some Rays baseball with y'all.
Nice. Yeah, I don't want to talk about the Euros because the more I say, the more I'll jinx it. But we're not the favorites. Let's put it that way. Someone who's been very vocal of our opposition this Sunday, a big supporter of the Spanish team, and as an all-star, he can do it all. He's like a Shohei Ohtani. He's appointment viewing. It is Mr. Ben Whitelaw. Ben, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. I was trying to figure out who you were talking about for a second, and then I remembered that I don't really like the English national team that much. So I'm like, oh, that's me. Yeah, I like Spain. But no, they're fine. It should be a good game. Couple of fun styles of play to watch. But that's not what we're here to talk about, I don't think.
No, definitely not, because I'll just get sad the more I think about how we'd match up with Spain. So I'm not gonna talk about it. But we have some exciting Rays things to talk about today. We're going to be talking about the Yankees series that we did very well in this week. We're going to talk about our new All-Star, Isaac Paredes, why he's so good, why he's on the All-Star team. And we're going to be talking about the draft and trade deadline, which are both upcoming very, very soon. Some bigger picture Rays topics today that we are going to cover, and we've got the right people in the room to do it. Can I just say before we get started, though, that something that would be a massive favor to all of us would be to drop a like and a follow or a subscribe, depending on where you are watching this. It would do a great deal to help us out and make sure that we can help grow this show and bring it to as many people as possible. We strive to bring the most informed and the best Rays and other Tampa Bay sports content out there. And the best way to support us, if you like what you hear today, is to drop a like and a follow or a subscribe on YouTube or any of the social medias. And also, we encourage you to join the conversation with us as well, particularly on YouTube. We are live on YouTube right now if you want to head over there, because if you drop a comment, we'll be able to see it, and we might be even able to bring it up and respond to it live on the show if you've got a good question for us, such as what's going on with the draft, who will the Rays be targeting, or why is Isaac Paredes so good? We're going to be doing all of that today. But first, let's talk about the week that was in Rays baseball. And that was finishing off a pretty unfortunate series with the Texas Rangers. Didn't really go particularly well for us, that finale game, dropping that 13-2 loss, a sweep from the Texas Rangers. Carter, the vibes were so good going into that series, and then suddenly something went terribly wrong there. Do you have any kind of thoughts that you took away from the Texas series? Did it change your perception of the team as a whole or alter your kind of optimism about this team?
Not at all. It happens. It's a long season. Teams can lose 3 games in a row at any given time. It could have been the Rangers, the Nationals, the White Sox, or the Rockies. It happens to the best of teams, to the worst of teams. Happens to everyone. It's just that stadium, man. That darn new stadium. The Rays just can't seem to figure it out. It's all good. Better to have a 13-2 loss. You can just kind of wash your hands of it and then, just move on. And, I think they've done that pretty well, but we'll get to that. But yeah, the Rangers series sucked, but what are you going to do? It happens. It's a long season.
Yeah, it's a long season. You're going to get swept at least once at home. You're going to get swept at least once on the road. You can get swept several times, but even the best teams get swept every now and then. It's a shame, Ben, because it came at the kind of apex of what was a really good streak of baseball for the Rays, winning 5 consecutive series. Did anything change, or did you notice anything that kind of accounted for that rough series, or is it just one of those ones where things just went wrong? I don't know. Was there anything in particular you noticed that was bad, like particularly bad?
No, not really. Just yeah, I mean they had runners on. They had a chance to win two out of those three games. One of them, it was just the one they were destined to lose. So when you play a team that's pretty good, or even when you play a team that's bad, you're gonna lose sometimes, and that's just how it goes. Like we didn't learn anything from that series, other than the team is pretty good at flushing it and moving on.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's get straight to that. Let's focus on what was kind of the main event this week, and that was playing host to the New York Yankees. We took 2 out of 3 games in that series, in 3 kind of all nail-biter games that could have went either way. We took the opener 5-3, lost the middle game 2-1, and then won the finale 5-4. I thought the bullpen were excellent at all 3 of those games. I thought the bullpen have been absolutely outstanding as of late. Carter, tell me how you feel. How did you feel about the Yankees series? Was there anything that stood out to you?
Yeah, the Yankees can't play in Tropicana Field. They're garbage. The all that stuff I was talking about with can't take a lot from a 3-game series. No, you can learn everything from this 3-game series. Raise or bet. No, I'm just kidding. No, it was a really fun time. It was really close games, like you mentioned. A lot of fun. The bullpen, like you mentioned, was great. And man, that starting pitching was phenomenal too. Just really, really fun series all the way around. That's kind of the kind of baseball that you really love to watch. It was kind of a very stark contrast between that last Rangers game to be able to fly in home and then just have a really great series. That was really impressive and really fun to watch. So yeah, nothing really. It's still a short series. It's a long season. Can't really take anything big picture away other than, hey, I had some fun watching the Rays win a series against those dang Yankees. So it was a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what stood out for me is I think lots of people were kind of harsh on the pitching staff early in the season because the bullpen was a little all over the place, still kind of getting stuff together. The rotation wasn't really as it was designed to be because we were having to rely on, at times, our 8th, ninth option in the rotation because of all the injuries. But the Rays have brought it back in a really, really big way. In 2024, and this is quite a basic stat here, but they're currently 6th in in the major leagues in team ERA this season, which, considering where we thought the pitching was at the end of April, even mid-May, is a really drastic improvement. And they're actually 2nd in Fangraphs pitching WAR. All season. It's in 2024 behind only the Phillies. So this Rays pitching staff have been outstanding pretty much the past 2-3 months now. And did anything kind of change, or is it just that our healthy guys are back, Ben?
Health and a little bit more consistency. They're just throwing more strikes. And it's not just they're throwing strikes, they're throwing more pitches in the zone. If you fall behind, hitters are going to swing harder. We see that pretty consistently with the hitters on the Rays when they're ahead in the count. They're sitting 1-0, 2-0. They're looking to do damage, and that's just what hitters do. So throw pitches in the zone, get ahead, stay ahead, control the things you can control on defense. And honestly, this is going to sound stupid to anybody who's just looking at the box score, but they didn't really play any different against New York than they did against Texas. Like they looked pretty much the same. They threw pitches in the zone. They swung at pitches they could hit. They didn't really chase much. The only difference is the ball found the grass. And, if you're consistent in your approach, you're going to go 4-3 more often than you go 3-4. So, yeah, they're just grinding it out. It's the middle of the summer, so it's always going to be a little bit tougher this stretch of the year, but so far so good.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think health is probably the biggest thing. When you've got a healthy roster, the difference between your 10th best option and someone like, let's say, Pete Fairbanks in your bullpen, as opposed to someone like Chris Stavinsky, it makes all the difference. Now, that's not as a simple binary choice. It's not as simple as that. But when you've got all your healthy arms and all your best players on the field, you're going to perform better. And that happened with the offense and the defense. And then finally, yesterday, we had the Guardians game that was on Apple TV. And oh my goodness, what a performance from Taj Bradley yesterday. 7 shutout innings. absolutely dominant. Really great performances from Poche and Adam as well that can't go unnoticed. Taj Bradley, Carter. How are you feeling about Taj Bradley right now?
Oh man, I love it. Yeah, he's been so much fun to watch. He's just been on a ridiculous run, like results wise recently. Whether that's completely sustainable, I don't know, but I'm super excited to just ride the wave, ride the highs he's young enough to where like, oh man, like maybe he can get better over the years, maybe he can develop some more stuff. I don't know, but it's really exciting to watch. He's been a blast. Yeah, not really much else to say. Like he's just fantastic. 7 innings of shutout ball. Like I don't know how much better you can do than that.
Yeah, I think something that was really telling and might prove some of the haters wrong is in the post game interview. Taj Bradley talked to Trisha Whitaker about why things are going so well for him lately. His past 5 starts have all kind of been really really good, and he pointed to being healthy and feeling relaxed and is able to kind of be consistent in what he's doing. But he gave a lot of credit to the man behind the plate, Alex Jackson, yesterday. He talked about how comfortable he felt with Jackson behind the plate, how well he called the game for him, in that he found it easy to understand and he felt confident in everything Jackson was saying. He said, I didn't even have to think about what I was throwing because Jackson's game plan made so much sense in his head, and they kind of had this symbiotic relationship going, which you always strive for between battery mates on the mound. Alex Jackson is been a topic of Ray's discourse, I would say, over the past couple of months, I would say, particularly about how the results have not been there at the plate, especially when you look at the kind of base stats like batting average. But there's something kind of unquantifiable, or maybe it is quantifiable, about how Alex Jackson does things behind the plate. What, Ben, why is Alex Jackson way more valuable than what his bat says, and how can we quantify that?
I mean, you can listen to any pitcher or coach talk about him, and it's not that they don't talk about Rortve, because they do, but the praise is a bit disproportionate between the two, and there's a reason for that a little bit. Like if you look at framing strike rate, like you look at, I wish we had public access to like tempo for catchers on Savant. I think that would be somewhat telling. You can look at the strikeout to walk rate when he's behind the dish. It's pretty clear. And you can kind of just see it too, like when you watch the games, like if you're paying attention to what he's doing, and a catcher's job is like 95% is about receiving and how they're working with the pitcher. So it's confusing to me to see people focus on the 2 to 3 at bats he gets per game, and that's the reason to launch him into the sun or whatever everybody wants to do. I don't really know. It's confusing to me. Do you guys have any thoughts on why people think that way?
Yeah, I kind of think it has to do with it's like Pat was saying, it's hard to see or kind of think about unless if you're just focusing on his hitting numbers, which is kind of ridiculous, like you mentioned, especially as a backup catcher, well, backup catcher, whatever you want to call him. Yeah, comfort level with the pitching staff, I think, is just such an underrated thing. Like I think, and it can be a bit unquantifiable, like Pat said. But if you listen to the coaching staff, the other players, the pitchers, and if they're comfortable with them, then that's all there is to it. And the results speak for themselves. Like Ben and Pat were saying, like it's just the results when he's behind the plate are ridiculous. Like the pitching staff has been really, really good these past few months. And, you know, I think it'd be silly to say it's all because of Alex Jackson, but I think it's also incredibly ignorant and kind of silly to say that Alex Jackson doesn't have at least a part in that. So it's been really fun to watch him kind of be the 2024 Jose Molina, so to speak. I don't know if I'm going to compare him to the GOAT, but he's definitely, he's definitely doing his job back there. And, I get it. Like it's frustrating to watch him hit sometimes because, it's not great, but like, that's not his job. That's not why he's there. That's not his value. So, yeah, I love Alex Jackson. Like I know he's tough to watch at the plate, but behind the plate, man, it's beautiful. It's fantastic. And I think the offensive numbers will come around. Like he can't be this bad for this long. The underlying numbers speak to that there will be a bounce back. So yeah, I'm excited to see how he can grow. I'm super stoked.
Yeah, I mean, the only way is up for him offensively.
For
The
sure.
process has been getting better for him behind the plate because he was striking out a ton when he first came up to the major league level and looked not lost, but definitely like he was struggling, like actively struggling. But his at bats have been getting better lately. And yesterday, the results were there. He had a really good game. So I think, you can't get much worse results wise than what he's been producing. So the only way is up. He's due for a bit of positive regression. I think because the Rays this year have kind of been mired in offensive inconsistency, people are often looking for things to
Scapegoat.
blame.
Yeah.
Yeah, a scapegoat, right? And when you're, a guy that plays once every other game in the 9 slot and gets 2 or 3 at bats a game, has been struggling. But when you point at someone and go, "Hey, this guy's doing really bad. He's the reason," when really we all know that it's very rare that one player can carry a whole lineup, and especially the backup catcher, where you wouldn't really want to be placing much emphasis on what they do offensively anyway. I don't think it's going to be the big difference. I guess the bigger question in the catching situation is Rotvet's been hitting really well and has some good qualities and some not so good qualities behind the plate. Alex Jackson has not been hitting well and has been really good behind the plate for the most part. Where does Rene Pinto fit in to all of this? He's been sitting down in the minor leagues for quite some time now. And I think something that a lot of people are wondering is we've got 3 catchers that could all probably be playing major league games right now. Is Rotvet Jackson tandem the kind of solution this year? Or is there a world where Rene Pinto comes back up? And if so, who would you even replace in that scenario? Do you have any thoughts on that, Carter?
Yeah, I mean it's tough. Like I loved Pinto going into this season. Clearly it didn't quite work out the way that the Rays or Pinto wanted it to. Will he be back at some point? I have no doubt, but maybe not this season. I'm not really sure. It's the Rays. They clearly do things very differently. So it's hard to really say what they're going to do next. And I think that they've done a great job of being patient, letting things play out. And Wortvet has his ups and downs for sure behind the dish, but I think they complement each other really well. Wortvet and Alex Jackson. I think that they're a nice duo for this season. But like I said, Pinto seems to be maybe the future. I'm not really sure, but I'd love to hear Ben's thoughts because I'm not really sure. I don't really have many.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad thing to have 3 catchers that are
Absolutely.
good. Like, you can have all 3. Obviously, it's hard to roster all 3 at the same time until maybe rosters expand. But you just kinda have to sit around and wait for either one of them to not be valuable or one of them to become really, really valuable. So, yeah, you don't really have to do anything. There's nothing to do. You just have to wait and see what happens. So, um, yeah, all 3 are solid behind the plate. 2 of them a bit better than the 3rd one, but, when you're hitting a lot and you're running, what is it, like oh, let me check real quick. Um, you're running almost a 400 BABIP on the season, it's pretty hard to take you out of the lineup, so, you know, just
Yeah.
ride that wave until you can't.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely. Like we've always said here at RBLR, roster jams are a societal construct and they'll work themselves out eventually. I'll repeat the stat one more time just for everyone that loves to hear it every week. We've had an update on the Ben Rotvet F-War at catcher leaderboard. He's moved up to 3rd place in the American League in F-War at catcher behind only Logan O'Hoppe and Kyle Raleigh. He's ahead of Ryan Jeffers. He's ahead of Connor Wong. He's ahead of Salvi Perez. He's actually quite considerably ahead of Adley Rushman. It's narrative ball. There's more to it than just that, but it's my favorite narrative ball stat at the moment that Ben Rotvat is the 3rd most valuable catcher in the American League right now, according to Fangraphs. Anyway, so we love to hear that. So that's the catching situation. Something that I'd also like to talk about is the All-Star rosters got announced this week, and the Rays have just one going to Texas, but that is a guy that is totally deserving and probably who deserved it the most out of anyone on the team this year, and that is Isaac Paredes. Paredes, named to the bench of the All-Star team, unfortunately couldn't get the fans to rally behind him enough. But an excellent season for Isaac Paredes, and it's been kind of more of the same from him since he's arrived in Tampa Bay, really. He's been so good at pulling the baseball. He's been so good at outproducing all of those bubbles on StatCast. I mean, you look at the hard hit percentage is in the 6th percentile, exit velocity on average is in the 4th percentile, his expected slugging, battage average, WOBA, all way down there. But yet, he still keeps on producing. How? I know people often kind of, it's almost become a meme on Twitter these days of going like, look at the bubbles on Isaac Paredes, but yet he's still good. I feel like we should at least try and explain how Isaac Paredes outperforms the bubbles on StatCast. Ben, I feel like you're a good person to start with this. What does Paredes do that makes him always outperform expected stats?
He works really hard. I mean, not that other players don't work hard, but he is so consistent and locked in and focused with his approach that he does the same thing every pitch, every at bat. Like you know what he's trying to do, and he's going to try to do it. And if you don't pitch to him in the way that he can, do his thing, he's just going to take his walks. So he's consistent. That's, he doesn't get in his own head. One pitch, one at bat doesn't carry over to the next. Every event is its own event. And yeah, I mean, you can look at whatever data you want, but at the end of the day, like, he just gets the job done. So it's not at a point where I feel like going into the season there were, people and outlets saying like, how long could he keep this up? Well, as long as he stays consistent. Like pitchers have shown they've tried to adjust and he just readjusts to their adjustments. So that's an established major leaguer. He's extremely consistent and he doesn't deviate from his approach. So when you combine that with the fact that he's got a really good eye at the plate and above average contact ability, he's just going to keep peppering that left field foul pole until he's a 10-time All-Star. I don't know. I mean, All-Star nods are largely symbolic, but you know what I mean? Like he's going to be that 120, 130 WRC plus hitter, and there's nothing you can do about it. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, Carter, do you have any words on Isaac Paredes and what makes him so good to you?
No, like all the things that Ben said is a consistent approach and just, doing his thing no matter what. And like, it's really fun to watch. Like he's out there just pulling everything, pulling fly balls and gosh darn it. And he's going to do it and he's going to do it well. And yeah, he's just continuing to outperform all those stupid little bubbles on Baseball Savant that everyone loves to post those screenshots. And it's like, dang, bro, look at this. And it's like, all right, congrats. You could press some buttons on your phone. Like it's some real good baseball analysis right there. But yeah, he's been outstanding. He's been so fun to watch. Very well deserving All-Star. Obviously, Jose Ramirez is kind of the class of third base, but man, Isaac is right up there with him. It's a lot closer than I think people realize. Yeah, glad he's a Ray. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me with Isaac, it's all about his process. Like Ben was saying, he's so good at sticking to that process, and he's so good at knowing what he can and can't hit. He doesn't chase very often. He's way below in terms of chasing, so he doesn't try and do stuff that he can't. He can't swing at stuff that he can't hit, and he knows that. And also, when he does swing at things in the zone, he hits it. He's got a 90.6 in zone contact percentage this year, which is elite, absolutely elite. It's actually 25th in all of baseball this year amongst all qualified hitters, which is upper echelon. So he knows how to hit the ball when it's in the zone. He can get the bat to the ball, and when you do that, then you already have kind of a leg up on pitches if you're really good at getting to pitches, because a ball in play is always a chance to get it hit, and then he knows as well that when to be aggressive and to pull those fly balls, and pulling fly balls is easier to hit out of the park than going up. That's for sure. It's just physics. So he sticks to that, and yeah, Isaac, fantastic season, but he's been fantastic ever since he's joined the Rays. And yeah, I have no doubt that he can continue kind of outperforming the kind of savant bubbles. And I guess the only other shout that could have happened for the All-Star game, which again, you can only kind of throw up your hands and guess when it comes to like relievers and bench players and stuff. But Jason Adam maybe could have deserved a shout, I think, for the All-Star game. I think he's been awesome all year. But again, he's been awesome since he joined the Rays as well. And I thought maybe he could, and there's still time, I suppose, he could still join the roster. But Jason Adams is my other All-Star as well. Do you guys have any other All-Star shout-outs that you'd like to give out to?
No, like Adam would have been a nice inclusion for sure. Because he's been, like you said, great. Pete Fairbanks also been outstanding. But it's tough. Like the Rays have to fight against the small market aspect of it, as well as they're a 500 team. There's some great teams out there that are going to get more All-Star votes and get more consideration. But yeah, Adam and Fairbanks were outstanding. Zach Littell has been great. He would have been a fun All-Star inclusion. But Isak being the only one, he deserved it, and just kind of shrug, like you said, throw up your hands and just give up. It's all good.
Yeah, it's going to be weird because I think this is the first time in a while that Shane McClanahan's not starting the All-Star game. Didn't he start it back-to-back years, like in the past 2 years?
I think he was scheduled to, but I think he got hurt right before it last year.
That was it. Yeah, he was scheduled to start it, and then he did.
Yeah, which really sucked because he would have been like, I think the first Ray to do it? ? And it would have been really fun, but what are you gonna do?
Next year we'll have Shane O'Mac back in the game. In the game. Speaking of trying to get yourself back in the game, I know how hard it is if you're trying to go out and you're trying to show yourself in public and you've got nothing to wear. It's the worst. We all know how much we value our appearance. And when you don't have anything to wear, it's a nightmare. But I've got a solution for you, and that is shop.rblsports.com. They have so many great t-shirts, apparel, caps, all of the best RBLR merch that can help you represent your Tampa Bay Rays, your Tampa Bay Bucks, Lightning, Rowdies, and potentially soon the Tampa Bay Sun as well. So if you want to get a hold of some of that merchandise, you need to go to shop.rblrsports.com, and if you use the promo code FLAPPY to represent our Flappy Boys, that'll get you 10% off anything you buy in the store. That's a little deal from us. So go to shop.rblrsports.com, use the promo code FLAPPY. All right, it's time for my favorite segment of the week, and that is the RB Alarm and RBLR Bat of the Week. We came to a consensus on this one for the Bat and Arm of the Week. Our Bat of the Week was Yandy Diaz. Yandy Diaz has been fantastic this week. He didn't lead the team in WRC Plus this week, but he did have an excellent week anyway. He had a 169 WRC Plus. He drove in a couple of runs, and he also hit to a 381 average, 524 slugging. He has been awesome and came up with some big hits for us over the past week. I'm super thrilled with Yandy Diaz kind of being back to where he belonged after a slowish start to the season. First few weeks anyway. He's right back where he belongs, making a ton of contact, drawing a ton of walks. He looks like the batting champion again. Yandy Diaz, absolutely deserving. How do you feel, Carter, about Yandy Diaz being back?
Yoked Yandy, man, he's back. He had that weird, like, this is totally not baseball related, but he had that weird goatee for a few weeks, and I did not dig it. I can't lie. I like the scruff. I like kind of the unkept beard look for him. The goatee just made him look old. It looked like he was using Just for Men or something. It's like, Yandy, come on, man, you got to embrace that salt and pepper look. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, he's been outstanding hitting the ball, and maybe his facial hair has something to do with it. Maybe it doesn't. I'm just speculating here. That's all.
Well, the Red Sox won a World Series by just growing beards, right? That's how they did it in 2013. Right. They just grew a bunch of beards and relied on the power of friendship. So I think maybe sometimes it is as simple as that, right? Like sometimes you just gotta like look good and feel good. And that's all it takes to kind of get the confidence back. Maybe, we've all tried a bad goatee one time or another, or at least I have. I don't know about you guys, Ben. I feel like you must have at least tried it.
Oh yeah, I've tried everything. I mean, why not? Like, the big sideburns, chin strap, you name it, I've done it.
The mustache works though. The mustache seems to be the one. I feel like you wouldn't be uncomfortable. Maybe this is an insult, backhanded, but I feel like if you got traded to the Yankees, you'd fit just right in with that mustache.
Oh, that is an insult. Not even backhanded, man. That's just a straight up insult.
Yeah, I actually got to go now. I forgot I have to water my oven or something. I got to go. So.
Look, I can't pull off a mustache. Not everyone can do it. I can't do a mustache. I've tried. I failed. I did a Movember, and it was not good. I would if I went to the Yankees, I'd be donezo because I hate being clean shaven. I need like a scruffy stubble. So anyway, I digress. Let's talk about our arm of the week. And our arm of the week, I mean, we've already talked about him. Really, it's Taj Bradley. Taj Bradley, easy peasy, easiest decision of my life. He was awesome this week with the 7 shutty in front of the bright apple lights. Pretend that makes sense. But yeah, Taj Bradley has been unbelievable this week, and this is like 3 straight weeks in a row. I feel like he's won our arm of the week. The consistency has been there for him, and he's been absolutely awesome. But a couple of honorable mentions, I think, deserve to go to Zach Eflin. He had a really good start this week as well. 7 innings, just 1 earned run allowed, which was really good. I feel like Jason Adams had a good week. He's not given up a run in 3 1/3. So the pitching staff has been clicking all over the shop, really. So, but for Taj to do it, I mean, unbelievable. But I don't want to labor the point, really, on Taj Bradley, because we've already talked about him. Does anyone have any honorable mentions for the arm of the week?
No, you kind of hit on all of them. Littell, Bradley, yeah, Adam's been really filthy. Like his changeups, oh my goodness, like the breaking stuff. I mean, he just, yeah, it's been really fun. You know, not a bullpen arm that's cracking triple digits or anything, but man, he gets it done with some disgusting stuff. So yeah, he's been really fun to watch too. But yeah, Taj Bradley, very well deserved.
Yeah, Jason
Yeah.
Adam has been a grown man out there. I mean, like the whole season, but like he's gone what now? Like, let me control shift here. Let me get this Fangraphs thing where I need it to be. Um, his last 12 innings, he hasn't given up a run. He's given up 2 hits in that frame. Like he's just, and then that strikeout of Juan Soto, like
Ooh,
that was really cool. Just here's my changeup. It's in the zone. You
yeah,
can't hit it. And he just did that 3 times.
yep,
And like that's Juan Soto. Like,
yeah.
yeah. So that was really cool.
Yeah, when Jason Adams on, I think he might be the most underrated reliever in baseball, maybe, because like no one talks about him outside the Rays, I feel like, but he is so good. He is so good. And he's been like good ever since he's come to the Rays. Like he's not just been good this year, he's been good past 3. So Jason Adam, I think, might be in the conversation for most underrated reliever because he can work the 7th, 8th, 9th. He can come in at any high leverage spot and he just does whatever he needs to do. And he always seems to find a way to get out of it, even if he does walk the tightrope to get you there. He just is a master escape artist. So big shout out to Jason Adam as well. Okay, the draft. The draft is upcoming. The big day is almost here. Oh boy, now I'm gonna be upfront and honest with all of you guys. I don't really follow college sports because I don't really have any affiliation to the colleges. But I know we have some big college baseball heads and some good people that know a lot about the draft. Ben is a particular expert at the draft and has been doing a lot of research. So let's start with when it comes to drafting prospects, different organizations have different philosophies on what they are looking for, and that can alter from year to year. I guess what are the big kind of standout traits you personally would be looking for in a top tier draft prospect?
I mean, you just want to get the best players. And if you can't get the best player, you want the guy who you think could be better than what you're giving for them. Because, I mean, there's so much that goes into the MLB draft. Like, you have, you know, a finite pool of money to work with to like sign these picks. So, you know, you want to think, okay, do I go over slot for this guy, under slot for this guy? Like there's so much that goes into it. So it's really fun to kind of do that like math gymnastics from like a finance standpoint with all this. But yeah, I mean this draft class is horrible, just to put it nicely. Like it's especially compared to last year. Like last year, that it was insanely deep, insanely strong at the top. This year is super weak, so it's going to be interesting to see how teams approach it. Um, yeah, I mean, what do you guys want to know? Like, I've got so much stuff here. Like, I can do whatever. I can do trends. Like, what are we thinking?
So I have a specific player I wanted to ask about because he's a local guy. Ryan Wall-Schmidt. Please forgive my pronunciation. But, like, he's from Bradenton, and like he seemed like, hey, the Rays could draft like a guy from Tampa Bay area. Like, it'd be kind of cool. Maybe like I think MLB.com mocked him to the Rays or something. I don't know, but I wanted to hear your thoughts on him because I don't know enough about this stuff to really have an opinion.
Yeah, so the team's picking, they've got 3 picks on day 1. They're going 18th, 58th, and 66th
Yep.
overall. First, second, and then a comp round, I believe, for the 3rd pick. So yeah, Waldschmidt's kind of in that tier of college hitters where he's below the tier of the Cam Smith, Braden Montgomery, and Jack Kaggs. Like, that's like the top tier of college bats. Well, actually, it's not, because you got Weatherholt, Bazana, and Condon above them. So he's like in that 3rd tier, and that 3rd tier of college bats is kind of around that 18th pick. It's in that, like, what is that, like 16 to 21 range. So he's kind of in the same, on my draft board here, he's in the same like cohort with Seaver King, James Tibbs, Carson Benj, Nick Kurtz, Malcolm Moore, Walker Janik, and then Christian Moore. Yeah, I mean, Waldschmidt's in there. It's, you know, if there's somebody better available at the time, which I'm not sure will happen, because, you know, Weatherholt, Bazan, and Condon, those are going to be your top 3 picks most likely. I don't think either of them has a particularly strong case for 1-1. But you know, we'll see. It depends on what the Guardians want to do, because they are in a pretty interesting position there at having the first pick in the draft. And then you've got a couple college arms, a couple college bats, and then the high school bats start factoring in. So it's all really complicated. Some demographics are more risky than others, but generally college bats are the safest. They've been taken, let's see, dating back to 2010. So for 2010 to 2017, 25% of first round picks were college bats. However, over the last 6 years, we've seen that increase to almost 35%. So teams are getting smarter. They kind of know, like, proportionally, if you take a college bat, you have a higher chance of success. The second least risky demographic would be college pitchers. 2010 to 2017, we're sitting at like 27%, but those are down around 21% now. So teams are not as comfortable with that. But we've seen a little bit of an increase with high school, like prep bats lately, a little bit of an uptick, even though those are significantly more risky than college arms, which is interesting. And then you could probably guess high school arms, especially like the up north, like cold weather guys, those are super high risk and not even that high of reward. I mean, they're a little bit high reward, I guess, if you know what you're doing, but yeah, basically it's going to be a pretty college bat heavy first round. I'm projecting like a record. We haven't seen this in the last 14 years, but I think we're going to see 50% college bats taken in that first round. It's so yeah, I mean, Waldschmidt, like a lot of the mock drafts are projecting, that's pretty great. If one of those prep bats falls to 18, even better. But I think it's going to be like an at maybe under slot college bat for that number 18 overall pick.
Mm. You mentioned that there's so many college bats, and it definitely seems that way, that there's so many college bats kind of floating around the kind of first round area. Are there any arms you got a sneaky eye on in that first round?
Oh man, I mean, I love to gamble with other people's money, so I'm all about the high. I'm all about the prep arms. I don't care if you're from Ontario. Like, give me the coldest weather prep arm and see what happens. But you know, William Schmidt, Caminiti, Cash Mayfield. I don't really like Hill that much. I do like Sloan, but I think the Schmidt, Caminiti, Mayfield group, I think that's a pretty interesting group to pick from. Mayfield's like almost 20 though, so he's barely a high school arm. Yeah, any of those would be really fun, and you might have to go either at maybe slightly over slot for those guys to get them to toss their college commitments to the side, which is a whole other factor with the money. So it's crazy, but I still think it'll be a college bat. But my heart really wants a prep arm just because it's so much fun.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think the Rays will prioritize a particular position, or is it more just kind of seeing who's available when it comes to them?
I mean, in the first round and mostly the second round, you're just taking the best available. Like you're taking the guy who, because you know, you can't project what these players will turn into, like position wise. Like rarely do you draft a shortstop and he's going to be a shortstop. Like that's unless they're like a plus defender at the high school, college level at shortstop, they're probably not going to stick. So you just take the best available. Most pitchers taken end up as relievers. That's just how it goes. So that's definitely something to consider, especially the prep arms, the high school arms. Those almost always become relievers, and it wouldn't be very wise to spend, your full slot on a potential reliever because I think the 18th pick is what, like $4.4 million slot value. So they'll probably sign the guy for around 4.4 million in that first round. You don't want to spend that on a reliever. Like you can go to the independent league and grab a reliever sometimes. So yeah, it's tricky, the financials and all that, but it's going to be a really exciting draft despite it not being that deep or good overall. But yeah, definitely look for a lot of college bats to be taken that first round. Doesn't really matter about like position fit, whatever. You're just taking the best guy available at that point.
Nice. The Rays have done really well to get 18th. They got kind of lucky considering their records last year, and the new draft lottery to get 18 is a nice for them because I think if they went on just win losses, they would have been in the mid-20s. So that's really good. I guess my last question on the draft is who's the best guy there? Because the Rays are going to be nowhere near number one. So who do you think is like the best guy there? Number one pick if you were
Uh,
the Guardians.
Gun to my head, I'm taking Bazana, but Weatherholt and Condon are functionally like the same value. Weatherholt, he could stick at shortstop. I don't think he'll be a very good one at the pro level, but I think he could play there. Bazana though is just the contact ability with the way he impacts the baseball is insane. Probably like, a second baseman, but with that kind of profile as a hitter and the track record, especially with wood bats, because you never really know how a guy is going to translate from metal to wood. He's the real deal. Condon is also really great. He has the most power potential, maybe the highest upside of the three, but you're looking at a left fielder who's got like, yeah, he's got like a plus hit tool, but compared to the hit tools on the other two guys, like it's pretty drastically different, honestly. So that's the cohort at the top. Yeah, I mean it's just gonna be really, really top heavy. I'm looking at my like own little draft board I put together and I'm like, wow, after like the top 12, 13 guys, I'm like, I really don't care at that point. So it's just, who do you think you can develop the best? It's interesting to look at the draft histories of certain teams. So go back a couple of years and the Rays have been fairly aggressive in the first round. In 2021, they went aggressive early with some prep guys. They went Carson Williams. They were able to get him just under slot because they're like, yeah, we're not going to try to make you pitch like you're a shortstop, and that's what he wanted to do. So they were able to save a little money there. Then when Cooper Kinney at slot in the second round, went under slot with Manzardo as a college bat, so they could go double slot for Ryan Spikes in the fourth. So they kind of have this trend where they like to go over slot in like the mid to late rounds. We saw that they went Xavier Isaac first in 2022, and he was not a consensus first round pick. He was like maybe a second rounder. So they got him at slot because they're like, we're taking you in the first round. And he said, yes, sir, let me sign. So we did that. And then they had to go, well, they didn't have to go, but because they were able to go at slot first and then a little bit under with their next few picks, they got Gary Gill Hill for almost triple the slot value in the sixth round. And we see what he's doing this year. He just, cracked the top 100 for a lot of prospect sites. And then Villeman, also, he's having a great year, went double over the slot in the ninth round. And then finally last year, Braden Taylor signed him at slot. Santana, he went well under slot, but he grew up a Rays fan. So if the Rays take him, he was going to sign no matter what. They saved like 600,000 on him or something crazy. And then everyone else up until about the 5th round, they signed at or just under slot. Triple slot for Trevor Harrison. He's been insane, huge breakout prospect this year across the complex league. He got promoted to low A. And then they went over slot for a couple guys in the 8th round, and then triple. I mean, there was no slot value in the 11th for Garrett Edwards, college reliever at LSU. He was going to go back. They gave him triple value than what he's actually worth. So he's like, okay, I'll go pro. So he went pro. So basically, I'm thinking with the college bats being so heavy in the 1st round, you're going to see a lot of teams in the similar range as the Rays signing a guy at slot value, like a college bat, and then possibly looking to go like well over slot later in the draft. We don't know what the top 3 picks will be, but we can be pretty comfortable and confident that at least one of them will be a college bat. And I think a prep bat in the 2nd or 3rd round is a pretty good choice. None of them are that great this year, but there are some really good athletes who need some polish that could go. So we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have any names you're excited about or anything like that? I know you said you haven't been on it too much, Pat, but either one of you guys, if you got some names or anybody you have questions on, like I've got scouting reports here. I've got stuff.
Well, I know if Zach were here, he'd want to ask you about Caglione or Caglianon. Oh God, please, sorry.
I just say Cags.
Cags. There you
Cags
go.
will
Yeah,
do.
that's
Yeah.
a good one. So I guess what are your thoughts on him? Like, I know you kind of mentioned the big 3. Like, is he slotted to go top 10? I'm just as clueless as Pat, if not more so, about this stuff.
Yeah, he's got massive power. Like it's at least going to be like 70 grade power. Maybe he gets to 80. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, the metal bats make it pretty tricky, but he's got 70 power. A lot of swing and miss, even though he's done better. But he doesn't really have a track record of good contact. So he was good with it this year. Yeah, that's important. But whatever. I think he'll go like fringe top 10, maybe like in that like 9 to 12, 13 range. He chases so much. That's something that you could fix a little bit probably, but he has a really strong track record of chasing. I don't think he's going to pitch at all. He is a reliever at best. So you're not really looking at a 2-way guy here, and it's a first base only profile. If a team thinks they can stick him in a corner spot, maybe he goes closer to top 5, but it's pretty unlikely. I think he's sitting at or around 10. But he does have game breaking power. Like, you talk about I mean, it's not junior Caminero level, like it's not 80 grade, but it's real power. So Cags is fun, but I have him the 10, 11, 12, 13 range. I would take maybe Bryce Rayner over him. He's a high school shortstop. Yeah, that's just what I would do. And it seems like the industry has grown on him a lot, and I've grown on him too. Or he's grown on me. But yeah, it's like back end of the top 10, I think.
I'm glad Zach wasn't there to hear it because he might have got upset.
Yeah, you might have gotten a little defensive talking about, oh, he's a 1st overall pick. Yeah, but
watch now he's going to go top 3 just because I said that, because whoever's picking the top 3, I know it's I think it's Guardians, Reds, Rockies. They could sign him like significantly under slot, probably at top 3. So like, yeah, I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see what teams do with their money. So I'm glad I don't have a pick in the top 10, because that's a really hard decision. The decisions are going to be a lot easier in the back end of the 1st round for sure.
Well, while we've got Ben here, if you want to ask any questions about the upcoming draft, or if there's any prospects you'd like to ask more on, you can do that by going to youtube.com/RBLR Sports, and you'll be able to join the conversation, because if you leave a comment, we can see it and we can bring it up on screen and we can answer some questions about the Rays, the draft, anything like that while we're still live. We're not going to be live for too much longer, but don't worry. If you've missed the first part of the show on demand will be available on the YouTube channel as well. So make sure to go over there, drop a like, maybe a subscribe, so you know when we're going live in the future, and you'll not miss any episodes that come up on demand. We really appreciate it. If you've liked what you've seen so far, be sure to support us in that way. We really appreciate it. One last thing I want to talk about before we get out of here today is the trade deadline is at the end of the month, which is always kind of becomes a big topic of discussion around this time of year once July turns around, especially once we get to the other side of that All-Star break. The Rays have already been busy when we're talking about trades. They already traded away Aaron Savali, and now they've traded away Phil Maton as well off to the Mets for a player to be named later or cash. People are speculating what the Rays may do. They're in a very interesting position, I would say, at this trade deadline. They're 500 on the button right now, and people could plausibly argue for reasons for them to try and acquire more at the deadline. Some could reasonably argue for them to trade away some players, like they already have, trade away even more. Some say stand pat, some say something in between. It's a really interesting spot to be kind of on the fringes of the playoff picture, not in a playoff spot, but not ages away from one. But Carter, I mean, what do you think the Rays should be doing at the trade deadline? Do you think they're buyers, sellers?
I really have no idea. I mean, like, it's the Rays. They could be anywhere. They could be in between. Like you said, there are just so many spots on the spectrum they could be in terms of that. And there's still a lot of baseball to be played in the month of July. So, we've got a little bit, well, not a lot, but we got a little bit of time before then. So I think that these next few games after the All-Star break, maybe they'll influence the decision a little bit, but I'm not really sure that it'll be really fun to see, regardless, whatever they decide to do, whether Eflin's maybe a name that gets dangled around, or maybe they get overwhelmed by a good position player offer and they trade someone surprising. I'm not really sure. It's the Rays. They're always going to be listening, always actively going to be in that market. So I'm excited to see what they do. It's kind of a weird situation. There aren't a lot of sellers, it seems like bona fide, pure sellers. Like, it's the White Sox and then maybe the Rockies and the Athletics, and then it gets a little murky. So maybe the Rays use that to their advantage and get a team to maybe overpay for something, or maybe not. We'll see. So I'm excited to see how it all plays out for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I would personally be really surprised if it was like a fire sale or
For
like
sure. Absolutely.
throw it all away.
Yeah.
Because the Rays' philosophy has never really been the kind of get a competitive window, run it out, and then sell it all away. It's not about that for them. It's about trying to maintain a good level of play for as long as possible, as opposed to like a short, good, like a top tier team for 4 years and then have to sell it all, or all the players leave. It's never about that. It's about being good for as long as you can. And trading away Lau and Paredes and Arozarena all in the same deadline would not kind of adhere to that philosophy. And I don't think it would be, I don't think it would even help the Rays enough net for 2025, which has a lot of promise in it as well. So it would be very strange for them to do that. But also, I think they're in a difficult position in terms of buying players, because it's looking for positions and for profiles that would significantly improve the team, that wouldn't completely break the bank. I mean, Ben, do you think the Rays are going to be going out and getting a big name at this deadline?
Well, how often do they do that at the deadline?
Yeah. Right.
Hey, they traded for Tommy Pham one year. That was kind of a big name. I felt like, that was kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean,
Nelson
he
Cruz.
was. I think that was Pham's year, though. Like, he had some MVP votes like the previous year,
Right.
and then he just fell off a cliff. So
Yeah,
it was a buy low situation.
for sure.
It's how often do they pay top dollar outside of the Nelson Cruz trade? Like, that's a good question to ask themselves. Oh, I thought we had a question from the YouTube thing from Eureka. Yeah, I mean they'll drop some underperforming free agents as needed, but um, a lot of focus needs to be on that 40-man roster. Right now they're currently at 37 out of 40 spots. You've got 4 guys on the 60-day IL. You do have a couple like fringe reliever guys you could move or just DFA, whatever. Yeah, I mean, they're going to need to create 40-man space. That's kind of been part of the focus with some of their moves recently, I think. I genuinely don't know what their entire plan is, but creating space on the 40-man is going to be important with some of the guys that are going to need protection. So it's not necessarily like this team's fine. They're a playoff caliber team, 100% fine, no doubt in my mind. They're not going to be sellers. There's nowhere you can easily upgrade without paying like a premium. They're not really going to do that. They don't ever really do that. So it's just kind of business as usual. Create some 40-man space for the guys you need to protect, and trust your evaluations because their evaluations are right. This is a playoff team, and they've been playing like it for a while. It's just, it's hard to make up ground when other teams are hot, but you can't be hot forever unless you're the Orioles for some reason. They've been hot for like 3 years, so.
Yeah, I think you're bang on the money where without going and getting a top player that would cost loads, it's really hard to find easy improvements. And the rotation is about to be as assembled as it's about to be, with the Springs due back probably end of this month, not long after the All-Star game. Rasmussen's expected to start his go to AAA for his rehab appearances after the All-Star break as well. So there's no point in going to get a pitcher when the rotation's been completely fine and you're getting reinforcements from home anyway. The bullpen's been really good lately. The position player core is as you'd want it to be. I guess the only thing you could do is fiddle around with the bench a little bit. You could move an Ahmed Rosario, give an opportunity to someone else to fill that utility role, and sell high on Rosario. You could maybe give Mead another shot. You could maybe bring Aranda back up when he gets healthy again. But it's all really tweaking minor league moves and just kind of rounding out the fringes as opposed to making a big move. Now, I'm going to say this as a PSA because MLB trade rumors is a dangerous place. Okay. The Rays field offers on every player on their team. Okay. There will be interest. There will be discussions with every player on their team. Okay. It's no secret. It's an open secret that the Rays will listen on everyone. They will talk about everyone. There are no untouchables on this team, I don't think. But they will only pull the trigger on those deals if they think they're getting fair value or better on their side by their own evaluations. If that is not met, they can walk away from any deal. And that will happen this deadline. People will call about Randy Rosarena. People will call about Paredes. People may call about Lau, but I'd be really surprised if they got a good offer for him. There may even be offers on Josh Lowe. But no, I think they'd only get traded if we got a crazy good return for him. And I would genuinely be surprised if any of them got moved this deadline.
Yeah, I'm with both of y'all. It's probably going to be a dead deadline, no pun intended. But yeah, it's always interesting because they're always constantly talking about. So it's going to be fun to see everyone overreact to, oh, they're thinking about trading Siri, or oh, they're just all a bunch of silly stuff. But like I said, it's kind of a weird trade market, so maybe some weird stuff happens. That'd be a lot of fun. So.
Honestly, the moment you think you know what the Rays are going to do at the deadline, they'll go make a trade for some player nobody's even thought about, and
For sure.
that could still happen. Like the Rays could make a move for a guy that they don't think might be helpful this year, but might be helpful in the years to come. There might be some minor league trades, like you said, to kind of sort out 40-man roster crunch. And that includes prospects as well that could be needing to be protected on the 40-man this coming off season that they don't see in their plans. They might try and offload them for kind of younger prospects down the line. All of these things are kind of on the cards for the Rays, as they are every year. But like Ben and Carter said, I wouldn't be completely surprised if the deadline rolls past and it's a bit of a quiet and unremarkable one.
Well, they could honestly like do nothing and still create some 40-man space because you've got Rosario and Armstrong. They're on expiring major league deals, so they're going to be free agents at the end of the year. So now you've got 5 open spots considering the 3 they have now. And then Alex Jackson, Edwin Uceda, and Richard Lovelady, they're all on minor league deals, which I believe also expire. I'm not 100% on those, but that's another 3 spots. So now you've got 8 open spots if they do nothing else. And that, doesn't include guys like at the fringes of the roster, like Sterner is one of them, Tyler Alexander, Basabe Shenton. Um, they really don't have to do much to create a lot of space. Maybe and they've already done some things that some people would consider significant. So maybe they make a move or two at the fringes of the roster for 40-man space, or to give a more clear path to consistent playing time to a young player. But business as usual.
Yeah, business as usual indeed. I'm going to round us off here because we've been going for a while now, but I want to round us off with one last question. We're about to hit the All-Star break. Carter, do you have any kind of predictions for the second half? It could be about a particular player. It could be bigger picture than that. What do you think might happen with the Rays in the second half? Use your crystal ball here. What do you think the Rays might do in the second half as a bold prediction?
You know me, I love to say wild, bold predictions that never come true. But I think Josh Lowe has a really big second half. I think he's off to a bit of a slower start than I think him or the Rays would want. And I think that he really bounces back, and I think he's going to have a really, really great second half. Maybe 10 to 15 home runs from Josh Lowe. That's what I'm manifesting, putting out there, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I'm selling high on, or buying low. I don't know what the phrase is, but I'm high on Josh Lowe right now for sure.
High on low.
There you
That's the line. That's the
There
tagline.
you go.
Ben, do you have any
That's
bold
really good.
predictions for the
That is
second half?
really good.
Wow, that was cool. I like that. I not really. There are so many things that could happen that are within the realm of possibility, and then so many things are going to happen that we don't expect at all. But I'm pretty comfortable and confident that they're going to secure a playoff spot. I mean, they're currently not in one right now. What are they? 4.5 games out. Yep, just keep winning series, but even before that, just swing at good pitches, throw strikes, throw pitches in the zone when you're pitching, make the plays on defense, and yeah, I think they're gonna secure a playoff spot. What about you? What's your prediction, Pat?
Well, I think the Rays making the playoffs to many within the fandom now would be considered a bold prediction. So you got that on lock.
Yeah, maybe.
My bold prediction for the second half, I'm gonna rep our kind of RBLR mascot. I'm gonna rep Alex Jackson, and I'm gonna say he's gonna make it to double-digit home runs before the end of the season.
Wow.
And I think second half, 100 WRC plus or better.
Wow.
That is
bold.
a very bold.
It's
I didn't know
very
you were
bold.
going that bold. I can do a more bold one.
Yeah,
I can do something bold. I feel like mine was really mild now. Okay. I think Ronnie Simon is going to be playing major league games by the end of the season for some team. I don't know who it's going to be for, but he's going to be playing. It could be the Rays, might not be. He's going to make his major league debut before the end of the season.
I love that.
Man. I love that.
Because he's in a use him or lose him kind of position on the 40-man. Because I mean, he was eligible last year, nobody took him. He's shown enough in AAA that he could stick on a major league roster if he was taken in the Rule 5 draft. Usually tough to take a position player, but he's got some defensive versatility and value. So I think it's going to happen at some point, but I think he'll play a major league game this season.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot.
It.
Zach predicted at the start of the year that Carson Williams would play a major league game this season. Do you think that's on the cards?
I mean, players can make the jump from AA to the majors, but there has to be a clear need on the roster.
Yeah.
Taylor Walls is probably the best defensive player in the majors that didn't just get placed on waivers. He's one of the best defensive players I've ever seen. Like, if anybody can, I will fly. How many listeners do we have right now? 100. 105. All right, I'm gonna fly all 105 of you out to the Trop to watch Taylor Walls play defense. That's all you're allowed to do. You can't watch any other part of the game. Get out your phone. I want you to record him for half an inning. Just watch his defensive actions, and you'll see what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen him play in person, you're gonna think he's not that good. Savant doesn't really like him. Outs above average doesn't like him. You just got to watch them in person. You never see it on TV. They don't show it on TV. You have to watch IRL. So what is that? Like $100 a plane ticket? No, probably not in the summer. Let's say like 200. So I'm going to have to shell out $210,000. Somebody check my math on that. 105 people at $200 a piece.
We got that in the budget, I think, right, Eureka?
That's a long-winded way of saying we gotta sell. Well, you guys gotta sell some more RBLR shirts. Yep, exactly. And that I don't think Carson Williams is gonna play in the majors this year. Sorry.
That's completely fine, because I also said I would shave my head if that happened. So I'm glad that you're confident that that won't happen, and so are my follicles. So yeah, be sure to go to.
Sorry.
There we go. 21,000. That's going to wrap things up for today's episode. We really appreciate you coming along and listening and watching to us, whether it was YouTube, on Twitter, wherever you were. We really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to drop us a like, maybe share the episode around a bit. And most importantly, drop us a follow or a subscribe wherever you're listening to us. YouTube particularly important, because you will get the episodes live as they are being broadcast, but also on demand as well. So you'll never miss an episode. We really appreciate you sticking around today. I want to say a big thank you to Carter and Ben for joining me today. And we'll see you all after the All-Star break. Have a good one. And as always, raise up.
Oh, Futures game today too. Check that out.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.